This is Tuesday, July 3rd, 1990, and it's a hot day, hot and humid
Terrible.
out there.
You feel it in here, yeah.
Yes, even in here. I'm with Hank Reniger, Henry A. Jr. What's the A stand for, Hank?
Austin.
Austin.
Yep.
Was that a family name?
No, that came after one of our chief political officers of the state of Michigan at the time, which is back in the early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere there was no, everybody in our family has had a name, and my dad also had Austin, of course. So that would have been the pickup back in the 1890s.
That's interesting. Today, Hank, we're going to be talking just about, if we could stick to our agenda, on the Reniger Construction Company, which back in 1989 was given a certificate as a Centennial Michigan business.
Yes.
And you got Reniger Construction Day that year, I think in
Yes.
June, from
Yep.
the city of Lansing. Other people are going to be interviewing you because of your broad associations with the community. So let's think today just about your life in the company. I've been to the library, the public library, where you deposited so much of your material with the Historical Society Greater Lansing that has their holdings there. And so I know a little bit about your company, and I've heard about Reniger as long as I've been around this Greater Lansing area. You were a long family of builders.
Yes.
Your family started in...
Grandfather actually started back in the 1885 in the town of Olivet. We have here in the archives, for example, the first big home in Olivet, Michigan, that grandfather designed and built, that had indoor plumbing, complete with a bathtub, running water. And that was right back, the house was moved, it's still in existence, still standing. It's used as a large apartment house in Olivet today when they expanded the campus. But a little sidelight there to construction is that back at the turn of the century, the builder was the architect and the engineer. There was no such thing as an engineering profession or an architect as you know him today.
He was a builder architect by experience.
Yeah, the best thing I could say is that Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all of their histories, if you ever run across it, you'll find that they were all master builders. That meant that they were an architect, engineer, and builder.
They did it all.
Right, and it was only in the, from 1910 on, that they have created what we call a monopoly of the engineering profession, where they went off and set up their own profession. And then it was, believe it or not, in the years of the Depression, before we ever really got solidified with the architect's profession. So see, they're all very new. And of course, you know, with Ruth down at the Engineers Museum.
Ruth Armitage,
Yes.
that runs the Michigan
Right.
Surveying Museum.
That was also, basically, Max Reniger, my uncle, graduated from U of M back in the early 20s as an engineer and also as a surveyor. Now, if a person graduates as an engineer, civil engineer, he automatically is a land surveyor, because that's the first step. Usually today, if you remember when we had Bill Berryman, remember Berryman that used to be the county surveyor? They would usually become a surveyor somewhere while they were still going to school before they got their degrees in engineering to the final state of it. So this is why today things are so changed from what I grew up with.
Your grandfather was Oria? Is that the way
Yeah.
you said that?
Yeah.
O-R-E-A.
Oria or Ori, it's all in the, in fact, it was the basic history that I'm using in some parts here. I don't know if you got it there. It was Doug Reniger's wife Jerry Jacqueline Reniger, who has put together both the Reniger and the Messenger
Your mother,
books. So on
your
the,
grandmother was the,
No, the Jacqueline was Doug Reniger's wife. That's Max's daughter-in-law. Now,
Max was your uncle.
Yeah, well, so this book right here was the one that she did on the Messengers, and that's the thick book on the Renigers.
Oh, so you have 2 genealogies published.
Yes, that she has been the author of.
And Doug's relation to you is?
Cousin, yeah,
Cousin.
right.
He's Max's boy.
Right, and he's the owner of Douglas Steel today.
So you kind of
Today
kept it in
he's
the
a
family, didn't you?
You're right.
Hank?
He's today we kid because he's retired and all they're doing is running up and down the Mississippi, the Missouri, and the others in their own houseboat. Where the rest of us stay around here and try to grub history out.
What was the, your father was, grandfather was O.J.
Yes.
And then Henry.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
my dad.
Henry A. And I noted that in the material at the library, you started working in the business at
Yeah.
16.
No, actually, I started work at age 8. If you had a copy of, yeah, it was in here, I think, where I've got sorting nails.
Oh.
Back, you gotta remember now, those of our age vintage, I love to use the word vintage because it's prime, you know, to me. We were allowed, if you worked for your father, you could start work at any age that was safe. This is why many farm kids were actually on the farm tractor at age 8 or 9. If you were brought up on a farm, you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
And so our yards, we owned all the property on Pennsylvania Avenue where Haddico Drive and all that area is now. That whole, about 2 city blocks, and they're all on the railroad. We have Reniger yards, and that's all in the book there.
I saw that
Yeah, those
there.
pictures. We had our own sidings in there that would hold 8 to 12 railroad cars.
Someday, Hank, we ought to sit down with a tape recorder and look at those pictures and have you talk about those pictures. Because
If we've got it on a video type, which is what, now, back here, I've got, I'll just show you one, so you got an idea, because you've probably seen them before and forgotten all about them. These, I'm offering all of the pictures, East Lansing and to Lansing, like your 2 groups. And let them fight over who gets which pictures of all of the work. Now, the one that
What is this volume of pictures that you brought in from
this
your
is
back
the
room?
Civic Center and many, many other buildings.
This is a volume at least 2 inches thick
Yeah, and I've got about 8 or 10 of those.
of glossy 8x10 prints
Yeah.
by Leavenworth
Yeah.
Photo. The Leavenworths took pictures of everything.
And then they lost everything in that big flood back in the 60s, you remember?
They lost a lot.
Yeah. And they'd come over here and used all of mine in order to rephotograph to replenish their supply.
Now, your 10 volumes of these photographs are duplicates, or are they?
These are the originals.
These are the originals.
Yeah.
But the 10 volumes, are they just one?
Oh, no, they're all different.
All different?
Yeah, I tell you that I gotta have somebody go through them, because God, they're so screwed up. See, there's all those on the Civic Center construction.
Oh my word!
You're talking
Hank.
my life. You see, and this is what I'm saying is that from the day that I was born, I've climbed in the caissons of the Hotel Old of the Bank of Lansing building. You know, of all my awards that I've received in my lifetime, my dad received, grandfather, that you're talking the life of 3 people in a sense of it's all photographed. And my dad and well, that's another point we want to catch in a minute. I've got the complete construction of Eastern High School, Pattonville, Walter French, West Junior, all of them.
Well, you've got a wonderful family archive and
this
corporate
is-
archive.
Yeah, and there's no one in my family that's going to be around. They're all gone.
Did you have children, Hank?
Yeah, I got 2 in California and 1 in Maine. They want nothing to do with Michigan. They call it the Rust Belt. They're all where they can make a decent living, you know, which you can't blame them. What do we got here?
That's Pattonville Junior
This is
High
all
School.
the construction way back.
bare ground up.
Yep, and I mean, but,
Oh, Hank. Isn't that something?
see, this is why I want them to be somewhere where they're safe. And it's no place but the archives for them in both towns.
I think the state archives
Yeah, there's the
is
old,
your best place.
that's the old, well, this is what I want you and people over there to tell, because we'll put it wherever, that's the old Reniger office on Cedar Street. Now incidentally, the new Lansing Center, 2/3 of it is on Reniger property, because at one time Renigers owned that whole area, as well as all of Mill Street.
Oh,
So like I say, and that's for London, isn't it?
no, this is Olivet School.
Oh, okay. So many
1921.
look alike.
Oh, Hank, this is a wonderful
You see
record.
this is what I mean, is that
And
there's
so
no one else has it.
And so organized. Very few corporations would have it.
Yeah, it's only because of I would say it's because of a loving grandfather and a father who taught me from the very beginning. So I guess better, I've got this all set up however you want to give it.
Well, I just thought we'd talk informally. I may
Oh.
come back again.
Oh, have you got it on now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And talk another time. But you started at 8 o'clock, 8 years old,
Yeah.
sorting nails. So
Yeah.
you know an 8 penny from a 6 penny.
And what you see, back when the old days of construction, they never threw anything away. It was all saved. And for example, when they would build a large wall, for example, I got into it during the cleanup days of Home Street School, Allen Street School, many of the other schools at that time. Maple, the one over here, or Walnut. All those schools I remember as a kid sitting in the corner, staying out of trouble. Then when the men would clean up at the end of a job, everything was dumped into just kegs. Remember we had kegs in those days, they weren't wooden boxes or cardboard. They would all come into the warehouse, and they always knew that during summer vacation, I would be there. So they would come in, and one of the laborers, I'd be sitting in the middle of a concrete floor, which is probably the size of this room.
Well, this room is
25 by about 60 in this part. I'd be in the middle of that, and they would come in and they'd dump all these kegs. They would have everything, nuts, bolts, washers, every kind of a nail imaginable, and it was my job at 5 cents an hour to sort out all those into piles and then put them back into new kegs, so that when the men went out into the warehouse, when they go to a new job, when they grab that 110 pennies or finish or whatever number 6s, whatever size nut, bolt, washer, they could go to that and they would know that they would all be right, because that was my job of sorting, and they would save the work for me all summer long, all winter. And I'd come in and
took
do
you
that.
all summer to do it, didn't it?
Yeah, except during hay fever time, and that's when I would have to go north because of the allergies. That's another whole story of my days in Grayling, in the history of Grayling back when it was a 12-hour drive from Lansing.
That's
But
another tape, isn't it?
That's another whole story, and that's all been documented, and those are all at the museum, at the state now. In fact, that's of the papers that I've written, the 8 different papers that you've got over there. But getting back on the construction, I was probably the youngest and the first person to master the new art of arc welding. I was certified as an arc welder at age 13. Today people then think it's unbelievable, but this is the way you could work. And I worked with our master mechanic, who was Sandy Elbro, who came to work for Renigers when they came to Lansing in 1916-17 period. And his life, he was a boiler, a steam engineer, and he operated threshing machines, which would have been around when you were a kid working the area.
Old traction engine type.
Right, so he came to town and became Reniger's master mechanic. He was an inventor. Many things today that were used in Lansing were invented in Reniger's machine shop. At the age of 13, I manufactured myself all of the floors in your theaters always have a slope. And then before they pour the floor, all the bolts would be set. So when they come along with all the chairs, they just set them down on the bolts that are in the concrete and bolt them down. Those all have to be engineered and made to certain lengths, and then they're fit with all of the chair, which is the harness that holds the bolt in place when it's poured. So that was one of the jobs that I would do.
You liked it, didn't you?
It was a love. I mean, that's all I knew.
It wasn't a burden that you went to work with your father.
Right.
You liked that.
Yeah. And the other thing, a little side operation, is our big machine shop was located next to the Grand Trunk. And I don't know if you were in town back, back in the two that are in my railroad book. We talked about my two favorite engines were the streamlined Grand Trunk passenger engines. I could set my watch and I knew I had 10 minutes to quitting time when the one was the eastbound to the westbound. And I was always allowed, even when I was sitting in the warehouse, I could get up and run to the tracks when one of those trains went through when I was 8.
You were close to the tracks there.
Right next to it.
Right next to it.
Main line right on it, yeah. And that's why we had our own siding. And before that, I was allowed at a very early age, I think maybe 5 or 6 years old, we would all go to Potter Park and spend the day. See, we were on Climax Street, so we were very close. In fact, we were about 5 blocks from the yard. We were Climax Street, just south of Main Street before they tore it out for the new ditch.
Yes.
And
496.
Right. But my whole life was around that, and I learned to drive. You see, now back in those days, at age 14, I think, or 15, you could get your driver's license. I think it was younger on a farm. But then, you see, I had my chauffeur's license at 16 to drive any kind of a truck. So when we were building the Renigers went into the Ryan Bone plant. You're familiar with that, I think.
Yes, I think that was RYON and then BOHN. And for years before I saw that in print, I heard it spoken quickly as Rhinebone.
Yeah.
People said it Rhinebone when it was Ryan.
Now you know where it was.
Tell us.
Okay, that was the big factory that was built during World War I for cannon and tank production. And it was all the factories across the railroad track from Fisher Body, which today, or during the war, it was the GM Forge.
Out in the Verlinden.
Yes, over there, which would have been outside of the city or so. I think that's in Lansing Township, just over across the track behind. And incidentally, the Morris Pancost farm, that would be Morris, the one that was principal at Lansing Tech. Before that, all the Pancost family grew up there on that farm, which is just across the track on Michigan Avenue. So it was the old Pancost farm. It was all, today it's all settled and all that housing in there. And, but basically, at the age of 16, I was graduated into driving the trucks all summer. Then when the war came along, while I was still in high school, I went on a short schooling schedule and put in hours driving construction trucks and delivering supplies to all of our jobs.
When you say a short schedule, it's sort of like maybe 5 hours in class, in school, and...
Yeah, you could say I probably in my, for all my training, I could not get a training in college. I had to take it all. My degrees from Michigan State came in the ag department. That's the only place you could get the type of construction that I've had.
Oh.
Because I did not go to an engineering school. The only thing they taught out here was automotive. You couldn't take the other forms like you can today.
So you must have been early when you enrolled at Michigan State.
Yeah.
How old were you? About 18, 17?
Oh, yeah. I can give you another little bit of a back behind that, which is another phase, if you wanted, on construction. That was that Dad was very prominent with the state of Michigan and with the National Guard and with the state police. Remember, we were small we had our fishing camp up on the river, on the Osaba. I don't know if you've read my stories on Grayling or not, but this is a very famous place. Otto Ecker, Claude Erickson, Albert Elsesser, all these these prominent trout fishermen, fly fishermen from Lansing, all had spent time at the Reniger camp. Well, they remember the boat that goes in the new museum if they ever get the top floors built?
Yes.
That's the boat right there. You see the typical ones like we were fishing out of. And then the fly cakes over there, with the trout flies, those are typical of, in 1936, Dad had 40 of those made and handed them out as Christmas presents to all the presidents of the
Shadow
different corporations.
boxes full of flies.
Yeah. So basically, Lansing was a small town. Everyone knew everyone else. I actually hunted and fished with the presidents of Oldsmobile, of Motor Wheel, of Melling. As a kid, my dad was on the board of directors of 5 of the corporations. He was vice president, secretary of Lansing Stamping Company. He was secretary treasurer of Lawrence Baking Company, and it was a big family in town. They trusted you. If there was anything done at Motor Wheel, Harper, one of them would call, and one of us would run over there and go ahead and do the work. It was that type of confidence and faith, not of the way it is today. And
the competition was not so great, and
well, there wasn't any because you had trust, and that's the way construction was in those days. Now, construction today, in the last 20 years, we don't even call it construction any longer. Today, they're wheeler dealer promoter brokers. And we can get into that. I don't want to get you all mixed up here with.
Did you, back in those times, did you have as many problems with construction as now?
None.
We have so many accidents.
This is what I was just in. You saw the paper. Where it is here. The fabulous new State Museum with all the problems. The reason you're having the problems is because there's no one responsible. And the collapse of Breslin was incompetence again.
Oh, we've had some historic calamities here in the last 5 years.
Right. Now, let's go back to my day in the business, which you could say really started in 1937. Now, I designed my first building, in which I got I've been written up nationally for at Melling Forging.
Was that your first building?
Mine. But they said, my God, how old are you? You know, because you don't tell them that at that age you're allowed to do it. Another thing I was in, do you want to talk disaster, which construction?
Sure, anything you want to talk about, Hank.
I can try and take these by steps here. I don't want to get...
You don't have to go by any form at all. Just talk about what you want to talk about. I think it's important.
Okay, let's hit it on this. We'll hit those buildings first. My first disaster.
Your first disaster.
No, I mean my first experience in a disaster.
Okay.
I had just completed my training, remember, in arc welding in acetylene. Sandy Elbro, the master mechanic, had built up the first known in existence mobile welding and cutting outfit. It was a 4-wheel trailer, and we pulled it behind a large pickup truck that had everything on it that was imaginable for either cutting steel, welding, the whole works. So,
real mobile unit?
Full. It was the very first one. In fact, it was handmade. In our own shop, and I puttered with him. See, this is the kind of way that you had an opportunity to grow up if you had parents like I did. You had the same thing if you were on a floor. If you wanted to, you could learn anything. There was nothing that I wasn't allowed to do or attempt.
That was a wonderful philosophy.
Yeah.
That you grew up in.
And I probably should preface that first, so to give you a little bit of an idea what I'm getting at, is that I climbed around in the caisson and I was no more than 6, 7 years old then. My mother about had a heart attack when she found me in the middle on a walkway when we were building the North Lansing Dam across the street here. Same
She
age.
found you on the walkway?
I was out in the middle on what they call one of these runways that they wheel these concrete buggies back and forth on. Couldn't find me, here I was when she yelled. And she had a voice that sort of echoed and bellowed, and you could hear her all around the area. And it was on a Saturday, Sunday
Henry?
afternoon. Yeah.
Where are you?
So here I am, way back to her, way out in the middle, thinking nothing. But this is the way I grew up around with that dam over here. Now there's somebody should get Claude Erickson before he's beyond, because he designed that dam, and it's known as the Little Hoover. And he designed this dam here. It's a miniature replica of the Hoover Dam. That's why they call it Lansing's Little Hoover. And see, that was built in 35.
1935.
Yeah. So, but getting back on the other part, that was kind of how I got into all these things. I was able to do work in the shop. Bear in mind also in those days, you didn't just call some supplier and have it delivered. When you remember the book on the railroads where the number of railroad cars, I had mentioned in there that we had delivery either on Mill Street or on Pennsylvania Avenue Yard. Everything there, steel came in bulk. We had our own cutting bins and everything out in the yard, where it was all cut, wheeled into the shop.
Railroad delivery.
Yeah, but I mean bulk. This wasn't stuff short. This was the rebars came in 40-foot lengths or 60, whatever needed.
What's a rebar?
Reinforcing steel.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I know what that looks like.
Okay, all of our steel came in, and it was measured, cut in the yard, into our machine shop. Which, remember the machine shop that was down on Mill Street? Okay, that was what we had moved there from Pennsylvania. And we had all of the overhead pulleys and the belts and everything that ran off the belts up on the top, because one motor in those days. My job, I had learned to thread. Then I was blacksmithing. I had learned to blacksmith, where I could take a piece of 3/4 inch steel, heat it in the forge, bend it, shape it, sharpen the points like you see the fellows with a jackhammer out here breaking concrete today. That's an art of sharpening those tools, and that's another blacksmithing job. Well, I learned all those. I didn't master those like I did some of the other things, but at least I was capable of doing it. So this is why I'd been turned loose with making all of the seat bracket bolts for all those auditoriums that Renigers had going that one summer. And that was 36, 37, 38 years. And so you see, you had to sit down, you made your own drawings. This is where I got my knack of being a designer, of making my own drawings.
It's too bad, really, that you went to Michigan State. Is it too bad that you went there and instead of someplace like MIT or
My problem was, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I would have flunked out in any engineering school because of my math.
Oh, math was difficult for you?
I never could master math. No, I mean the kind of math. No, I can take a whole list of figures like this and add them up in my head without an adding machine. But I could not do calculus, trig, and all those other exotic things that you got into in the school. But I did get my certificates at Michigan State, and incidentally, if you wanted a builder's course, like today, you know, you've got all the house builders that graduate with a 3-4 year Michigan State builder's course. Back when I was at State, you got it all in the Ag department, the School of Agriculture, and the Horticulture department. And our experience with construction was designing greenhouses and floral shops, of which I still have my drawings, the original tracings.
Oh my. Well, you still have the drawings for your grandfather's greenhouse, greenhouse in Olivet,
right,
the Green family.
Right, and so many things like that. Now that tray over there is, all those shelves are loaded with tracings that go all the way back had here is that's the rocking, the chair that I would sit in his lap, face his desk, and Teddy Roosevelt above.
And it's like that today.
It's still, but this is.
That's why you call this the Franklin Avenue Museum,
Right.
isn't it?
and everything around here, you see there's some heritage to it. And the old steel item, now incidentally when we moved to Mill Street, we had to go modern. So everything here was put in storage. And it was not taken out of storage until we moved down here.
Until you came here to 317?
Yep.
So,
And this desk, this conference table, and it's many things of that nature that have been entrusted to us.
we're here at 317 East Grand River.
Yeah.
You bought this property from the North Lansing Community
Right.
Association, because I was active with them
Right back, and that was in 1970.
when we ended up selling it,
Right.
and you have improved it.
Now that we put the new front on it, brought it back, and that again gets into another whole phase because I spent all my years on the Riverwalk, and remember the first appointment there was by Ralph Krigo, and being a historian, we've researched. We're pack rats. You mentioned the books like Bartholomew. We've got them all here, and in fact, this map right to your right, that's East Lansing, 1910. That's
Michigan.
the only known existing map.
Michigan Agricultural College Campus Community,
Yeah.
1910. Incorporated 1907, East Lansing
Yeah.
City.
But that's the oldest, and East Lansing itself has nothing older than 1913. Now, how we got that is that Cheryl and I, both being antique buffs and historians,
Cheryl's your wife.
right, this came out, the maiden sister, or the daughter, of the engineer there. Yeah, my knees. Is that your, yeah, it's Chase Newman. Chase Newman, who was one of the fathers of East Lansing, the forming of the community, the town. He was head of engineering at Michigan State at the time. And these were all his hobbies of preparing all these maps. Now that is the only one in existence, and it came, the Newman sister, you may have ran across her in some of the years, was the maiden one. And the other was Doris Fitzpatrick. If you ever ran across her in any of your, now they're all like Cheryl working at the library. They're all volunteer type. And Miss Newman called Cheryl one day back about 20 years ago. She said, we have one of Father's oldest maps. And she said, I will only give it to someone like you and Hank because I know you'll keep it and you won't sell it. That was nailed to the studs in the garage ever since he'd made it. So this is basically how we have been able to acquire such a funded knowledge of the greater Lansing area.
You were part of it. People knew you
Yeah.
and respected your attention.
It was open, and so I guess we got through the part of the nails, we got through the designing. I received my Hall of Fame awards came about, the first project being the one at Melling, tongue-in-cheek. Then I had a lot of others. I did a lot of design work at Atlas Drop Forge. Another phase would be during World War II that under my eyes and my bad leg, I was 4F. So therefore I put in a full schedule at Michigan State, and I also worked a 60-hour week at Fisher Body in the engineering department.
How did you damage your leg, Hank?
Accident with my mother way back in 1940.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think that was the beginning of your back problem?
No, my back problem came about with our middle son when we were on Mickey Mouse Hill in East Lansing tobogganing.
Oh.
And you know, there's nothing when you talk to an orthopedic man, he said the damn toboggan is the worst thing you can ever be on. And that's but everything all builds up.
Sure.
Bad eyes and the whole thing back. We're too old to have been treated like our kids were with the modern medicines. So we're really the last product of your problems, my problems. Our kids had the same thing, but they're perfect because they had learned about it.
Had better care.
Yeah, and let's see, where were we? I got up there.
No, that's all right.
No, I mean, I had another point I wanted to pick up with it.
May I ask you?
Yeah.
If your father was a particular devotee of Teddy Roosevelt, that he...
The grandfather.
Grandfather.
Yeah. Now, grandfather O.J. Reniger, if you think of the Renigers being the Republicans of Ingham County, it was 1916 that O.J. Reniger was the Democratic mayor of Marshall. So you see, really, Teddy Roosevelt was the rebel. He was not a true Republican in the sense of, we think of
formed his own Bull Moose Party.
Yeah, and we always, all our lives, have been what you would call independents or very liberal Republicans. This is why, and there's another tale when we go back to our days of politicking, when we used to hit every little hamlet in Ingham County in campaigning days. You remember, another side issue, you remember what they call it, the Republican, we were the batters back in, when Chuck Chamberlain got in.
I don't know.
Not like the Bull Moose, there's some other name for us, the rebels or what, but anyway.
Well, sometimes they called them Young Turks.
Turks, that was it. We were the Turks, and Shirley and I were the youngest Turks. There was Chuck Fratcher, and you got to remember this is Bob Reffier, and all these other people who would have been 10 years older than us.
Did you say? Reffiers.
Yeah. And all the people that were in Ingham County that really, my dad wouldn't speak to me for 2 months after that because we were the ones that got kicked Clardy out of Congress. Remember Clardy got in, he was in one term and he was defeated by Chamberlain? It was our gangs that did it.
Your father wouldn't speak to you?
Wouldn't speak to me because we had no right to upset. A man was deserving of more than one term in Congress. And so see, Shirley and I, we followed, I'm jumping around too much.
Oh, that's all right.
But anyway, it was
it's fun.
BJ, our middle one, was the Ingham County chairman of the Students for Wallace. So you see, our family we have more tongue-in-cheek of politics of Lansing because people say, well, you're Republicans, you gotta be. Well, hell no, we're not. We're independents.
Yeah.
And Cheryl and I we didn't sleep the night that Rockefeller was beaten out of it by the one that lost. What was his name? You can't even remember his name now. For the presidency of the United States back there when Rockefeller ran. And many things of that type of politics. This is why I've had such a close relationship with the governor's office, and except today because the one we got now is not anything like you and I would think of. But getting back to those earlier days of training, this is how we got into our disaster corps. And the disaster corps was I still carry my special pass from both. We had a pass from both FBI and from the Michigan State Police, which I still carry my state police one, even though it's expired because it was fingerprints and it was like a regular ID for entrance into anywhere. And we were hellions like all kids were in high school. And this was a day back there in the 40s, and the principal's office calls, and the teacher said, Hank, you're to go to the principal's office. And she was one of these stern type teachers. Everybody, big joke of, what have I done now? So I get to the principal's office, they say, your dad's called, there's been a disaster in Lansing, and he wants you to run home, grab your mother's car, get down to the yard, and pick up, the truck will be waiting with the cutting trailers, the whole works will be waiting for you. So I went from high school home, got the car
Marshall,
Yeah.
excuse me.
But then he went on to get, well, your new Firebird, this new Firebird fire truck, you know, that we got, was copied off the designs that we toggled up for the fighting that building. Now that's all in those loose leaf books that they got over at the library too. All those pictures. But that's a whole different phase. And then of the North Lansing fire here, I was in on all of this. And BJ, our middle son, who at that time was in junior high, a hulking ox of a kid. He could pass for as big as me anytime. And in the trunk of my car, I always carried 2 complete firefighting uniform. I mean, I had the boots, I had the hats, I had the rings, the coats, and the whole works. So here's BJ and I. We had to park clear over on Saginaw and walk because of this whole disaster. Using my passes, we got in and we were walking. In fact, it was comical because we had the East Lansing chief of the fire department, who was also at that time scoutmaster. And we walked into the command post, which I threw my pass, another they could do. And I worked with Albers and these others all on how to prevent disasters. When the fire started, how could you prevent it next time, or how to best fight it. And all of a sudden, the chief looks around and he makes a comment. BJ, what the hell are you doing in here? And there's this kid, just in junior high, but he had the same kind of a lifetime that I've had. I followed my dad in the same kind of things.
You're saying that you offered your children the same kind of opportunity to learn?
They had all had it, yeah.
So they learned about danger, but they learned about safety too.
And you see, now you remember that my 3 boys all grew up during our days at Mill Street. So they had, when we took over and managed the buildings and did everything, the new roofs, the repairs. Now BJ, our middle son, if he were here today, would be a member of the carpenters union because his full trade was in the carpenter trade.
Did the other boys follow the business?
No, BJ was in business for 3 years until the bottom went out, and that's when he packed up and went to Maine. But John had always been what we call our little brain. John graduated from Miami of Ohio. Well, he was the one that held all of the local swimming records for years. I think what's been fun and where you and I enjoy each other so much is that we both have led such, in other words, the day that we retired or had to or just did, we've never taken off and hibernated somewhere like so many people do. We've kept busy. In fact, I've been busier the last 5 years, and probably I think that same sparkle in your eyes that I had in mine back in '85 when we started in on the sesquicentennial activities. 3 years of the most loving years of my life. And this is really what got me into doing what I'm doing today. I mean, I'd done it before, we handled all that, but we'd always been afraid because we were not a professional, so to say. And how many times were you looked down their nose by people who were in history or here and there, and you had no business being in it because you weren't trained for it?
Well, I was in it. I was part of the historical community.
But I mean, we weren't supposed to be doing anything of that nature because we weren't trained. We didn't have the degrees, so you should say. Yeah. And it's been tongue-in-cheek because...
But lay people have always, in Michigan, contributed tremendously.
Well, you remember we were never...
Probably they are more recorded, and the results of their collections and their energies are more respected and used today than some of the so-called quote, professionals that have gone by the wayside.
But you hit it on the head with it, because you said recorded. I'm talking about the written. There's a big difference, because I had 3 of my dear friends who were at the university give me Billy hell because I had no business writing a history of the railroads of Lincoln County because I did not have the proper credentials. Well, that's serious. It's been tongue in cheek. We've had more fun. And then the worst part of it is now is to be lecturing to these same people over there at the docent things at the new State Museum, because you can see your background and mine. We were right down. We were in the nitty gritty. We were the laborers, the troops. We never got the publicity. We didn't care anyway for that.
No.
But the point was that now all of a sudden we are now appearing, and we are now lecturing to those people who have retired, that were the ones that were. You see what I mean? And I was never.
You can go in and lecture to their classes.
No, I see. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Now, like, that's how I rewrote the one on the Plank Road. And I never really thought, because why they wanted that so badly, and it was because when you go through the first 100 years, you've got that first part on the Plank Road there. If you've ever really, so all the times I've ran by it, I never really stopped to think, well, that is given, if nothing more, we have given those docents a little bit more information when somebody asks them about the Plank Road. Really, what is it? They've got all those files that we put together in the papers, and as long as we got it, we should have it out.
This is at the new State Museum.
Yeah.
Where you did so much work.
And,
you had your railroad diorama.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful exhibit at Christmas time, Hank.
But did you notice that the city of Lansing, no one even recognized it was there? Wasn't in the newspapers or anywhere?
Probably the weakest part of their program right now is their public relations.
In the city.
Good things go on there every day that I miss out on. I met a charming man yesterday who told me he was in town singing with the barbershop quartet, and I said if I'd known about it, I'd have gone down. But it's hard to get the news out to people.
But it's out statewide. This is what when I look at back and see that they've got a good press release department there. It's just that Lansing and the State Journal will not pick it up. That's the problem.
But locally, there's an awful lot going on in their defense. But
well, you see, you and I, though, let's face it, we're both so set in our way of Lansing and going back. But okay, we got.
There was one thing I wanted to ask you about. I noticed there was one building was the Red Cross building, and it said fee $1.
Yeah.
Would you build it for free?
No, when you're talking fee, you're talking about your profit. Oh, okay, it was free. But legally, you have to collect a fee of $1.
Like a will, like...
It's time and material. It's the way you build a building on a time and material basis. So they pay for all expenses, but there's no profit. Your profit is that $1.
And that was one of those buildings.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
And we had many, many others the same way. All of the work that we did over at the community nursery, and now like Camp Croliacs, the old scouting camp, which is down by Jackson.
Say that name again.
Croliacs.
Croliacs.
Yeah. That was the one that the Renigers in Christman gave much on way, way back see, we've got, I'd say in the family, we've got many, many things that which were first. And,
You're truly involved with the community.
but do you remember F.A. McCartney, Floyd McCartney? Well, Floyd McCartney was he was the manager of Equitable Life in Lansing. And Jim McCartney is his son that was my age, that always got the bylines out of Washington, Jim McCartney. And Mac was also one of the trustees of People's Church, and Cheryl and I sat down with him. This is philosophy now. We sat down with him back when we were first married, and everybody was gunning you at the time, you know, your pledges here and your pledges there, and he said,
yeah.
well, what everybody should do, they should say, take a percentage of their income and split it up to where they feel comfortable with it. And so basically that's why we never became millionaires. We've been comfortable, but you still devoted better than a quarter of your endeavors and time to the church or to the community. And that's where it is. This I
You
think
have
is,
no regret about that either, do you?
oh, it's delightful. And I think when you, we probably can jump back here on this a little bit, would be the construction as we know it today.
Well, I noticed back in, well, there was money in 1927. 27 was a good year. 28 and 29.
Wasn't that
said-
fabulous?
You said that you were doing in excess of $1 million a year
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Of course, 29 you hit the depression began, and 30 we were still holding your own.
Yeah, but that's, you see, that's when we got the contract for the Bank of Lansing. It took 8 years to complete, because as they got money, then they would do another part of it.
Did it gradually when they could afford to pay for it.
Yeah. Or when
But-
they have a tenant. See, the trouble, that building was all done on the exterior, but nothing inside. And as the floor was rented, you found a tenant. Then you went in and did the work.
Oh.
So that's how it took us a total of actually, the last tenant moved into the Bank of Lansing during World War II. So you can see it was a period of 10 years that building had vacancies. So, but this was the life that we grew up in. And I'd like to maybe hit a point here now, of giving you a background of what I consider the general contractor. The general contractor, if you go back to your days like we said earlier of Thomas Jefferson, George Washington and the others, was a master builder. Now incidentally, up until this year I had maintained my master builder's license. Which is the same thing that, and a lot of people give me hell when I say it, but a master builder was licensed to get building permits without architects or engineers, because we already had the knowledge of what we were attempting to do. In other words, we knew our limitations, and that's what we were holding to, and the city and the state honored it. So, I mean, there's your point with us with a permit. Now, back in the period of and we incidentally employed the full trades. Now, that picture over by the window, that was Reniger's work crew in that year of 1927.
It's a
All
circuit
those
camera picture. that-
Yeah, and all those people, they all worked for Renigers. After the war at the college, we had between 500 and 600 on the payroll. That's 100 people during the boom years right after the war. During the war, we lost a lot, but everybody was busy because we were hopping all over, working in the plants.
Keeping the repairs up for
And
the war.
yeah, and no, like myself in school, that you were expected, even though you were 4F deferred, you were still expected to do your part, and you put in 60 hours, and then you went to school, for example. And the work that we had there was Bob Hughes from Silver Lead. I don't know if you ever ran across Bob or not. Well, Bob was one of my bosses, and Ted Simon, who was at the university now and retired with a new power plant being named after him, the Ted Simon
part there. They were both my employers at Fisher Body during the war when I was in the engineering department.
What were they building at Fisher at that time? Hank?
What we were building at Fisher Body that's another long thing that you see, this is what Robert is.
Oh,
So,
yes, Robert Engel wants to talk to you about
Right, now you see, they were building the turrets for tanks, and two of them would go out on a flat car. Everything that I was into out there was all classified at the time. And actually the first, the P-75 plane, which is another story, that was tabled because every time it would go into a dive, the pilot was killed because they hadn't learned yet to, when they passed, what is it?
Oh, the G's.
G's, they passed a certain one and the guy would blank out from that.
Mm-hmm.
But then they would come alive when they got blown up to the ground, but they came so fast. So then they invented that new little doodaddy that in the plane, that when it hit that certain altitude, that it automatically would bring it out. Well, then you see that plane was only experimental, P-75. Then, right after that, the war ended, and then they came out with the jets. So you see all those high-powered special prop planes were a thing of the past. But my job at Fisher was in the plant engineering, was designing all these jigs, the machinery that these things, all these parts would be built on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was anywhere in the plant that they needed somebody, so I had that industrial plant training.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, everything, whether you know it or not, at the time, prepares you for something else in later life.
If you graced long enough to live long enough, you get that feeling that
Yeah.
everything you ever learn supports tomorrow.
And yes, but you don't realize it at the time because it's up here. It's not written down anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you see, we go along into the 60s. In the 50s and 60s, at one time, I had 9 automobile dealerships all going at the same time throughout the state of Michigan because of the relationship that I had built up with the head people at GMAC or the finance end, who actually were the ones that finance all these dealerships that you see built around. And through the Shrine and through our friends in the KC, of which, see, it didn't matter whether you're Protestant, Catholic, or what, you still, all of your top men. Now there was Al Edwards, Al Rice and Mason, Bud Kautz from Lansing. Whether you're Protestant, Catholic, it didn't matter, but they were all key men with Chevrolet after the war. Then they went out, when they left there, they all became, when the dealership became available, they took over the dealership, whether it was in Mason or whether it was White down in Coldwater, or the ones in Lake Odessa, or the ones way over in Sandusky. That all these people were a fraternity from General Motors or from Ford. I never could do a job with Chrysler because Chrysler always, somebody had a hand under the table for a payoff. And it's still the same way today. This is a part now somebody's going to raise cane with. But the point is that General Motors, with a training program, and Ford, if you were accepted, and see, I was probably accepted the same way in this dealer type of setup that my grandfather and father were with people at Olds, Motor Wheel, and during their generation time. So we had dealerships going all over, and they were all designed right on this drawing table behind you here. I did all my own design, all my own plans.
That's a monstrous table.
Isn't it? But,
That's a beauty.
yeah,
When was that built?
No, that's a new one.
Oh.
That was one of the later ones. And those tables today run about $6,000. But you see, that takes the great big huge drawings.
Mm-hmm.
And this basically, I've had a happy life. You've had your pitfalls, your up and your downs. You've had, we had to have been born in the Rust State, the Rust Belt, where our kids could not continue in the family like they wanted to. But hey, got a brain and if they've got the gumption, they shouldn't stay here and starve. Go somewhere else. And this is why today I'm in such a panic of disposing everything we've got here in a sound way, to where we know it's going to be protected. Another great thing that you can see is that first off, East Lansing, really had nothing before 1930. It was still a little, almost like a farm town. No building records, no nothing like you would think of today. And I have probably the second most complete set of city directories of anybody in the city of Lansing. And I offered them to the library, so we've got most of those. So we decided that we're going to give them all to East Lansing because our historical society, because there's nothing out there of that nature. And but the two gals you've got over there at the library are Mrs. Clary and what's the other one?
Joanne Jager works with
Jager.
Jane.
Yeah, Jager. And but she and I've hit it off because now she's president of isn't she the president of Ira Hill's Museum?
Yeah, yes, she is.
Yeah, and so we got some dreams coming out on that too that will blow people's mind if and when we ever get it off the table. But there again, everything, you see, I've studied the histories. I've written a couple of small histories on the history of Mill Street way back to day one. Of which again,
Where are all these histories that
those
you've
are all over there
written?
now.
At the library?
Yeah, I mean whatever it is in either one part or the other. And or closed.
Oh, it's
You know, everybody comes, they think I'm open to it, and I have been, that's why I work in the back room normally. But we've got so many things here of all my books and things. Now, see, there again, it isn't even fair when you take my wife Shirley, who now does all the sorting of any book that comes in as a gift to the library, because you know what's going to end up in the Historical Society in a hurry. Because all the years that she's accumulated books for me, today we find out that they are priceless because no one else has them. Like that map right there, it's the only one in existence. And many of the other things we have, where else are you going to find it? You won't. And
You have to have people that collect and save.
pack rats.
Well, yes, but
Well, you got to be a pack rat first, but then you got to have the brains to know what you're saving it for, or how to catalog it in your mind. Now the map behind you there, now that's an 1859 map of the two counties, one of the originals.
yes, that's the Giel map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that color is because of the smoke on that visqueen over it.
I did an index to that,
You were telling me, yeah,
Took all the names off of it and published it.
yeah. I told you I quit smoking about 2.5 months ago, didn't I?
No. Well, good for you.
You notice there's no ashtrays in
Good
here?
for you. Oh, no, I
No, you
I
know
don't
how-
smoke, so I didn't miss
You
it.
remember how I was always sucking on a pipe?
Yes, you had a pipe. That's
All the
right.
time.
That was
And-
part of your image.
2.5 months ago, I sat there, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I ran out of tobacco, and I put the pipe up, and I've never had an urge even to go back or do anything else since.
Oh, that's great.
But it's, what I mean, the point is you can change
well,
when you're ready to.
your company survived because it changed with the time.
Yeah. Another thing we did, and see, it would be in my time that you don't think of as much because we didn't build the monuments in our time that we built before that. Now, it breaks my heart to see the buildings that our company has built that they've just knocked down, like they want to do the Civic Center. The Olds Administration Building, remember on Townsend, what a handsome thing that would all. You remember that again, like the Lansing fireproof storage. Remember how long it took with dynamite to blow those up? That was another point that we had of the part. I don't know if you got the one there on what I had on the birthday of Mason Hall. I thought I had. Well, get back. I got a couple here. In 1920, from 1920 to 1940, Lansing had 3 contractors. There was Reniger, Chrisman, and Hagemeyer. That was George Hagemeyer, did a lot of work, and he'd been here longer.
Reniger and Chrisman had a big battle going who was the oldest. Chrisman had the first job in town, but they came from South Bend. Renigers were the oldest to establish in Lansing in business. So that's how Harry Conrad finally stopped saying that he was the oldest and that he was older than Reniger. But their work was older, but they were not considered here until they had finished and they were the ones that built the Fisher Body Plant, or the Durant Motor. And it kills me that you cannot get the Conrad boys, both Al and Bud, to do the same thing, keeping the history the same as that we have.
Well, Bud is very involved with Chrisman Company yet.
But he will not keep any history. They haven't got any time or patience for it.
I don't know. We are planning to do an interview with him.
Good. Well, then you'll get a different approach then.
It'll be interesting to hear maybe that's the value of the oral tradition then.
Yeah, I think it is.
It may fill in some spots here where you haven't seen it before.
And today, Carl Hausman is the only general contractor in the city of Lansing, in my interpretation of a general contractor.
We should interview Carl.
Yes, and he is an old curmudgeon. Do you know him very well?
Well, he lives right across the field from me, or works across the field from me.
He is getting
in the old Kreitz house.
Yeah, he's getting so bullheaded and stubborn, like I am. But I mean, this is why, because he's upset. He is so discouraged that the tradition that he grew up under, Hausman all came out of Chrisman. Carl Hausman, his father was the one that was known as Lansing Circus Club. And when I traveled with all my circus histories, I've acquired from his father. So see, Lansing there again is a small town. That's where I came up with all my ideas on my circus train that was down at the museum, remember, at the same time. Everything handmade, and everything we've done is historically correct. So it's been sources now. His father was the one that I used to tag around. Oh, that was another thing when the last year Clyde Beatty was in Lansing with the JC. I was chairman of the circus thing for the JCs. Another one of my activities. So you see, everything I've done has been fun. It's been productive. But anyway, Carl is the only one today, and we were talking here about the other buildings now. In the 1980s, all you have today is a broker, manager, or developer. You have no more contractors. One of these three people will hire subs. Nobody is responsible. Back in our day, you built a building to last a lifetime. Now, I'll say one thing to protect the rate of the people today was that the IRS is the one that killed sound construction. Because back years ago, we were allowed 50 years to amortize a building. Today, it has to be wiped off in 20 to 25 years. So this is why when you just drive down the highway where you saw Holiday Inn that was built 26 years ago, have you noticed now that it's changed its name to something else? That promoter, developer, the building is totally amortized, and from now on he's got to sell it. He sells it to a competitor, and they start over again with another 25 years. So this is why you're getting the junk you got today. Downtown Lansing, for example, has one building to me that I would be proud of saying that I had my name on, and that's the Radisson. It's the only one built in Lansing in the last 20 years that uses the old style of construction. You look at the Commerce building, and all they do is they throw up a steel frame, chicken wire, putty, and you remember all that crud they put on it? So you see, that building isn't built to last more than 25 years. Take the one there across from Board of Water and Light, Go America. Remember a year or two ago that they had to reface the whole thing? It's only about 25 years old, but you see, like a car, they're only built to last so long. And we get back to the other point now. Okay, this would be the expected lifetime today is 20 to 25 years. Today, the owner is stuck with the overrun. Now, back when you when you were working with the state, or when you think back the days of the contractors, we bid a job and our bid was what we stuck with, whether we lost our shirt or not. Today, it is a manager, and all he's doing is working for the guy that's paying the bill. Nobody is responsible. The architect isn't responsible. Look at the Breslin collapse. I can say it now because I'm out of school, so to say. But if I were active in business, we figure, I myself, being in safety and so forth, feel that there's a conservative 30 to 40 violations of OSHA on the Breslin Center, just for that collapse.
Now, with that,
Yeah. I mean, any one of those things could have caused that to happen. That never would have happened back in the other days. So there's nobody responsible. And of all the silly things, we look at that beautiful new museum, and they're so darn dumb they didn't even think to put that paper in there to protect the moisture inside from staining the stone.
I know the problem with the vapor barrier.
That's what I mean.
I walked in there one day and there's visqueen all over the
Yeah.
offices.
Right, but no, nobody's responsible. Back in our days, either OJ or my dad would have had his head nailed on the wall, because that's what we are supposed to be, the professional in. Today there's no professional, because you see, your architects today are not an architect, you see the name manager on the job. All Christmas is today are managers. They're not a contractor longer, they're just a manager. If I know you understand what I'm saying, but
Yes.
a lot of people that, and the developer, look at all this junk that's gone up around town with Genlozy or which one, I mean, and I can't condemn one or the other because one's as bad as the rest, because they're all they're in there for is they're developing, and they all put up that thing and then they run. Let somebody else worry about the leaky plumbing. Have you heard the tales of the Commerce Building? How they have to wedge up all of the furniture, it's got a caster under it because it'll all roll to the middle of the building because of the loadings. That's cheap, under-designed construction. In other words, they haven't gone so far that they become unsafe. But well, to give you an example, the best thing that I ever learned from Max Reniger, my uncle, back when I started in estimating or pricing to bid a job, you took it from the engineering standards by all of your tables, and when you were done, you put a safety margin of 25% on it. And it was done either on a calculator or an adding machine. They didn't even trust their slide rule. That was only to do a quickie, but you still, for your final calculation, did it with a computer, with a calculator. That's all I've ever learned to run. I cannot fathom these other machines. Today, the safety factor, they've redesigned it by a computer. And the computer says that you're crazy, you've over-designed it by 100%, so the architect, the engineer automatically reduces it by that 100%. In other words, he's going by what that machine tells him, not what common sense or the engineering book tells him. He's going by what that computer tells him.
You consider that the flaw.
That's the flaw of many, many failures. Look at all these skywalks that have collapsed in these hotels around the country over the last 20 years. Look at the number of domes that have collapsed on these big arenas. Look at the mess at the Detroit one. It's all because they have, to give you an example, and I know for a fact that bidding in the work that I'm in today, or was in, like with the pre-engineered buildings, that the companies were competitive. And I could not understand how one company was underquoting us, underbidding us by 25%.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yep, and I talked to the old chief engineer who was an old, actually he was a German Jew that came over during the days of Hitler, and he settled with Inland Steel Company, who was one of our 25% is that they have reduced the margin of safety by 25%. So this is what you're doing today with many of these failures that you're having. Now, a lot of people say I'm all wet, I have no business because I'm not registered. But I feel that in many ways that I have maybe forgotten more, and Carl Hausman has forgotten more than what a lot of these people today, the geniuses that are losing money on state buildings. When was the last time you ever saw a building come in under estimate? They're all 30, 40, 50% over estimate. And nobody today even cares. They just tax the people for more money again. But there's no control of quality. The last building in Lansing that we built, and that was an Orley Munson job. That was a Presbyterian church on Ottawa. And if you will look, when you're going by there one of these days, look at the dental work around the eave line. You know what I mean with the dental work now?
It's a beautiful church.
Right. Now, do you realize that we had a man that spent 6 months just nailing those little square blocks all the way around that building, the dental work? And the other one that would be second to that would be Trinity Lutheran. Those are the two, those are the two last monuments of Renigers. And when I say monument, it's something that I would be proud to show my kids. And now Civic Center was built before that, so that would still be a quasi-monument. But probably a couple of one of the most, my finest job, and tell me when you're getting time,
No, that's all
would
right.
be with Mother Assessian at St. Lawrence. I don't know if you ever have to known her, know of her.
No.
Well, she was a Mother Superior. And she was, Renigers built the original St. Lawrence. And Mother Assessian, she was Mother Superior of the Sisters of Mercy for the state of Michigan. And today, if you followed it, is Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. There's about 8 states now that are in the Mercy thing. And Mother Assessian was retired, but still, when we built the East Addition at St. Lawrence, and we got into the chapel. See, I was kind of a handyman or a troubleshooter from the office. And I'd worked on there again. I worked on everything at St. Lawrence Hospital, doing the laundry room way back when I was in high school. This is the way things were those days. And she was very formal, and I was Henry always. Even everybody outside was either Junior or Hank. She says, "Now, Henry, when you got to be very careful when you do the drain in the chapel." Well, not being Catholic, I don't think many Catholics even know either that the holy water, goes into pure sand, white pure sand. It does not go into the sewer. And so here we are down there. We're getting ready for the floor, and you put down, like, you remember the old sump pits that you used to have on the farm, only you fill it full of sand, and that's where the drain and the 2 sinks in the chapel went to. And this one day it was raining like the dickens, and we had just finished that, and she pulls up her habit. In those days it was clear to the ground. Pulls up her habit, and she takes off with her construction boots on, the 2 of us in that mud over there, and inspected that, and she took a stick, and she was down in that hole, and all sand. She said, patted me on the back, and said, "You did a good job on this." In other words, I gave her enough sand that she knew that holy water was going to be safe. And never would reach a drain or would in any way would ever go into the groundwater. It would have dissipated within the sand. But that's what makes.
What a nice story.
But you see, there's so many. We've got hundreds of stories like that of construction.
Yeah.
And like Harold Childs, the architect from East Lansing, that did the Reuter House and so many other places in Lansing. That we had in fact, my wife, future wife, stayed with the Childs. And you see, when Renigers came to Lansing, Harold Childs was one of the first architects who worked at that time with, I won't get the other fellow's name down there. But anyway, now the whole block on, I'm not going to stop. Have you heard of Kerr Street in Lansing? Street, along with 5 other streets that were changed during World War I because they were German names.
Oh, I've heard that my George told me about the name changes and
Yeah, all over town had it.
and how they changed the cornerstone of the German Methodist Church,
Yeah.
the Seymour Avenue Church, around so that the German on the cornerstone is on the inside of
Right.
what we see today.
Right.
I was just
And, now-
amazed. I get duck bumps when I
know, but
when I
now,
think about that.
What was your background, or what heritage? Were you English?
Well, my
or-
father was German, Kebler.
Okay.
He was first generation American, and my mother was old American, Howe,
Okay.
Howe.
So you were like our family then. You had the Germans that came in. My grandmother and grandfather, the Goss Baking Company.
Goss and Reniger, both a German
Yeah.
background.
You know, but you see, the Gosses were all immigrants, and the Renigers were all DAR because they came in Pennsylvania way back in the 1750s.
Oh, way back in the days of the Hessians.
Yeah, and they
never
came
went home.
Right, and they came across, and the ancestor, the Reniger, that we came from, was in Oil City, Pennsylvania. One year they were rich, and the next year they were destitute because they were in that Oil City area when they discovered the first oil. And that's the ones that all ended up in Olivet and all through that area. You'll see coming into this part of the state. But anyway, there I go jumping around again. Where were we?
Well, that's all right. You can jump around.
No, I mean, I was trying to think, there was another point of, the Goss Baking Company was, a quarter of everything that they had left over was given to welfare. But, all of a sudden, they were boycotted by Schmidt Brothers, who were Germans, and all the rest, the other stores, and they claimed that the Goss Baking Company, since it was German, was grinding up glass and putting it in the bread to poison the people. These are tales around that. And here my uncle was in the trenches in France. So, but I mean, the Lansing had some weird, ornery tales.
Yes, I heard a terrible story from my mother about how she was a young bride at this time and living in Grand Ledge. My father was 24 years older than my mother. And she told me that there was a German man who did not speak English, and he didn't buy Liberty bonds because he didn't understand. He didn't have communication with the rest of the community. And he was in his 80s, and the leading young men of the community, like this Chamber of Commerce sort of people, put a rope around his neck and dragged him across the Grand River Bridge there that they're now ready to take apart and do over, and he died as a result of it. And they really killed that man. And some terrible, terrible things happened.
It's interesting because I get so disgusted with ethnic groups today because they're no different than what we did, and me today, to be honest with you. I feel that if people want to change our way of life, they ought to go back where they came from. Because that was the thing that any immigrant that ever came to the United States, the first thing he wanted to do was forget their heritage and become Americanized.
At least they forgot it. They put aside each group seemed to have set aside a certain part of it, a large part of it. They wanted to be acculturated, didn't they?
Yeah, but now you see, you take the Gosses, for example, and there again, I've been very fortunate that my uncle spent his last years back here in North Lansing with me.
Your Uncle Max?
That was Lawrence Goss.
Oh, Lawrence Goss.
Yeah, of the Goss Baking Company. And in fact, it was his wife, my aunt, that just passed away last night. And that's the last, I'm now the oldest of any of the Renigers or the Gosses.
The Goss is through your
mother's side.
Through your mother's side.
Yeah. And there you see, it's a small world because my dad met my mother, who was bookkeeper at Lawrence Baking Company, when Dad was treasurer of the Lawrence Baking Company. And he ends up marrying her, and this is the tie with the Goss Baking Company.
Oh, I see.
And I was born in the big old house on Clark Street, which is 2 doors from that big 3-story block factory building, which my grandparents built as the first bakery bakery there. Or I mean, their last bakery. And so when people get snobby to me about North Lansing, what do you know about it? I say, oh, I was born and where were you born? So it's kind of like tongue in cheek. But my uncle did spend a lot of time with me all through those last years. Here he'd come in and visit. He'd go down to the little bakery and the German bakery, Rick and Susie. And so I was able to acquire many, in fact, all of my albums that I have now of the Goss family. I borrowed his prints and had new negatives made. And then remember the book that was put out, I got it here somewhere, the one that was put out by the Savings and Loan Out. Okay, now you know there's about a dozen pictures in there of the Goss family. And the bakery and
No, there are.
Yeah.
You had them, didn't you?
Yeah, and so all of these things have come together, and I've got all the buildings along the avenue here. I like our models here. You see, now these are all handmade right from the original photographs.
You've made all these?
Yeah, these were all knocked out in the period of a month and a half, along with my other fellas at the either LCC or from MSU.
This is made out of cardboard.
Yeah, these were all handmade on the drawing. See, I sat down and drew them all up on the drawing board, cut them out. The kids came in, my artists. You know what those buildings
This
are.
is the comfort station right next door.
This is the one that was torn down for the bank up on the corner.
Oh.
And my aunt, the one that died, this is where her office was, when the ticket salesman for the Urban Line.
Oh, really?
Awesome, yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake. What was your aunt's name that died?
Hulda Goss.
Hulda.
Yeah.
And she was in her 90s.
91, 92. And they were very dear friends of the Kriegos and the Affelts, all the old German families.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But you see, now this is my young art. Now both of these, the boys here have decided now that they're working on their graduate work for either museum, library science, or something.
Oh.
And it's all come about just because they've hung around to me and worked on this kind of stuff. And see, all they are just that heavy artboard. But that's what comes of being able to conceive as a builder. This is what I say, as a master builder, you can sit down and draw these out. I knocked these all out maybe in a couple of hours. Then they were on these big boards, like you see over the museum. The guys took them home, they colored them, did all that, then they brought them back, and I cut them out and put them together.
And that's how you got that exhibit going for the
that's how we had it
new
done at the
museum.
time we did, yeah. But here's
Thousands of people must have seen that.
But here's the one that we have all the money. You know what I spent hours on this one?
The Cedar Street School with all those windows.
Yeah, it's all hand done.
Oh, my word.
Dan, this is the young fellow that was over there during the time we moved that was running trains. Did all that. All hand drawn on with the
A lot of
instruments.
patience.
Yeah.
So if somebody says, what's the feature of the community that's most rewarding to you, you'd probably say opportunity to share, really.
Yeah.
That's one of the features that's been great for you, isn't it?
It's
And you said terribly nosy.
Well,
You'll have to explain that.
well, okay, a trait of the ethnic trait. Now, maybe you've noticed it in your family if you got the old German behind you. To me, there's no one any nosier than a person whose heritage came from Northern Europe. Now, you can find it with the Polish, the Lithuanian countries, the Germans, the English. They're very, very nosy. They've got to know everything. In other words, they'll keep asking you questions where you feel it's none of your damn business, in a sense. All my relations were that way because everybody, it wasn't just a case. Well, to give you an example of a funny little thing that happens, and this is so hard when you have a young wife who was brought up straight-laced, upstate New York, with an old English background. And incidentally, our kids are the 13th generation on American soil. So see, they came, actually Cheryl's grandparents came over to get away from the days of they came over. But anyway, my dad, my uncles would, they'd stand right there and ask you your age. They'd ask you all these questions that some people would say that it's none of your darn business. But I've learned it's the only way you learn in time.
And you're saying that it's cultural.
Yeah, entirely, because you take an old, now maybe you had it at home all the time, you never thought anything of it because it was a cultural. But you run into some of these other ethnic groups and they're affronted by, then we become pushy. Well, you could almost say that you take the old Jewish trader. He was always considered a pushy type person. It's strictly ethnic because they're all that way. No, they don't realize they're doing it because they're all that way.
Mm-hmm.
You take your old German families.
Well, the best thing you can ask is how's the business?
Yeah.
And
what's your return today, or how much you make on that, or this, and today you see with the way things are, it's no more.
Mm-hmm.
But I will ask, in fact, the tricky thing, and if you've got any people working on history, the one thing I've learned, and it's worked like a charm, I know a lady hates to tell you how old she is.
Oh, I don't mind.
But you see, you're not like the other 99%. I've been, as much as had my face slapped because I'd ask somebody their age and it's none of my damn business. That's the way most of these women are today. Now, see, you're the old school again. You stop and think of these young ones today.
I'm just so glad to have made it this far.
I know it. But my secret is, we'll be visiting about something and I'm trying to spot a young lady or a woman of any age. You know how I can get her age without her even thinking about it? Ask what year she graduated high school.
Oh, yes. It's a pretty good indicator.
And you'll be within a year or two.
Sure.
But then they say, what do you want to know that for? I said, because then it places you in my mind as to the frame, the location of where you would fall within that history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think basically the biggest thing that ever hit me was the, I worked on the bicentennial, but the sesquicentennial was the thing that was really, to me, we went ape with. And I know you did. But we had experiences, and if nothing more, and this is another thing I lecture on today, is how to get people into writing down things. Now, the average person is afraid to sit down and write, but nobody's afraid to keep a little diary of this little happening and that little happening.
People do not keep diaries as they used to.
But I mean, if we could get them just to put down all these little notes, because everything that I've written, and right now I think I'm up around 12 different pages, we call them papers, so that we're not quite as gushy with it. But I checked through with the Copyright Act, and you know that they will allow you to take all these, that's why you've noticed everything that I write, they're like little thumbnails and so forth. Those all become chapters in a book when you do want to put under one binder, and then copyright it as a total.
Mm-hmm.
Now see, until you nosed around, found that out, you wouldn't think of it.
That's one of the things we have to do here today is to sign a what we call a
Yeah, your disclaimer, whatever the sheet is. Yeah.
It's a deed of gift.
Right.
I brought one with me, Hank, and
Well, I hope you and I've got, and the main thing is if you've got anything else, oh, another main thing too that you'll notice in the book that we presented to the library on the Reniger Company. I should say I hope the society part, and that is on steam, horsepower, and diesel. Did you happen to see that part?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've led through, and that is another major thing, is that you realize that we were still using a horse and a pan for all grading, digging of basements, excavating, because you know when the first backhoe came out?
No, I don't know the date.
After World War II, because that's why they were steam shovels before. And you never saw a steam backhoe. All you saw was a steam shovel. pictures of Reniger's equipment. Everything up until after World War II still had steam cranes. We never owned a diesel. We never owned a gasoline motor, except on small equipment. So there's, when you stop, we've gone to space. We have TV. People think of that's all in the last, 40 years. You also can add the diesel, the bulldozer,
Ready mix
the crane.
cement.
Yeah. Oh, no.
When did that come?
We had that in 37.
In 37?
Yeah.
That was earlier.
And that was the very first thing because the first building in the Lansing area was Mason Hall. And that's part of my little, did you get a copy of my story on that? I think it was in the bundle somewhere.
I think it was in that folder that I saw at the library.
Or would it be in the other one? It would be, there's the paper that I gave. This is more of my lecturing things. That's the paper that was also given to the state. That was on the construction of Mason Hall.
Oh, this is your talk on the building of Mason Hall.
Yeah. Actually, we call, I guess, that's another of the papers that we've added. Now
Is this a duplicate that I can
yeah,
take
you can
with
have
me?
that.
Thank
Now,
you.
the other one is in the book, but it's got all of the pictures, the
Yes.
photographs of the construction and so forth. So by taking and here's the, that's the one that we did with there, and that again, tongue in cheek. Remember that was in 37, and I worked on it. Well, in 37, I was still in junior high. So here's all these poor old senile faculty out at this party, and this party was fabulous. Oh, we had, it's in that, oh no, I got it here. It's here. You wouldn't have it over there.
You had a great party and you were the youngest person there.
But I was the only one that wasn't senile.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious.
Well,
Hell, I was almost like, there was East Lansing High School,
Yes.
and,
Our long-term memory is better than our short-term.
see now here was the invitation to it.
February 2nd, 1989.
So, and here
She
we
can
just see
still-
all the stuff, and
Yes.
this was the program. This is in part what I've got in one of the other sources. And then here was this paper that you have here. You see
Yes,
what it was,
your speech.
and you notice
Then
that
look at all the photographs.
the
you've
old
got.
crane, steam crane jet.
Steam crane, right.
And this was later, you see, this was the other, but now we got moving on this project after the war because we used the drawings from the other one. So just a case that I went to work on all that stuff.
To build the Snyder Phillips
Yeah, and then see,
dormitory.
these are the steam tunnels all around under camp. Well, you could drive a car down through them in pickup. They're so big. There was our concrete plant that we couldn't get ready mix, so we opened our own plant and set it up at the college for all the buildings that we did. But you see, we had, and another thing I talk about it, as a kid, I was able to ride the Great Lakes freighters, both the Huron Cement and Inland Steel, because of my dad's relationship with them back in the 20s. So see, everything ties into a
That
pattern.
must have been a thrill for a young.
Yeah, as a kid.
Well, for anybody, but especially for a youngster.
And there was Dad with the National Bricklayers Contest held out at MSU.
They still have that, don't they?
Yeah,
He died in 1969.
yeah. And you see, here's, okay, now this means of education is this one right here. I'll give you that too. You may want these for your own, or whether you. whatever
I
you
made a
wanna do.
photocopy of.
I don't think they had these though.
No, this
This is all brand new. See, I just finished
This looks different, Henry.
See, I just
this-
finished that in '89.
Yeah, this looks different. I don't
Yeah.
have a copy of that.
Okay, now here is, okay, this is when I went to Tom Jones, when I sent him all this stuff.
Oh, yes, for the centennial.
But I mean,
Business.
I sent him the picture I found. But here's the story of the building. In other words, we can catch it on this one over here, the real fabulous. You never think of these. And do you know Edna Burkover? Edna
I know who
Burkover.
she is, but
Okay.
I'm not,
How we got
acquainted
into
with her.
this was that Edna is writing the history of the Quonset living. Because see, Wilbur was a professor at Canada, Michigan State right after the war when they had lived in
I
the
heard
Quonsets.
she was involved with that.
Yeah, okay. So, what do? They call me, what have we got on Quonsets? Well, you see, Chrisman built all the Quonsets on campus, while we did the other side. So, that got me going. Everybody bugs me into writing the paper now on the construction after the war. Well, then when we...
Oh, it just was like a bubbling cell out there.
But the point was that it all came about. Little known, forgotten construction. It was Harry F. Kelly. Yeah, but right here, you can catch it right in a hurry. You
Here.
probably read faster than I can.
1943, Harry
Yeah.
Kelly established a special committee for the development of a post-war program for higher education. President John Hanna and Henry Reniger Sr. were appointed. Both would soon become subcommittee members of the federal post-war program for higher education. The top priority travel ratings to and from Washington,
Now you know what that
D.C.
meant. Remember that? Where the top travel, they could get on any plane and fly to Washington, where everybody else either took the train or whatever, or waited.
Yeah, waited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Henry was appointed to the National Building Trades Apprentice Board. Because that apprentice program was in force then, Hank, was
Yeah. And you know where it was really, one of the first places that it was instituted? Lansing Technical School. That's when they opened Sexton and they turned over the old Central High to Lansing Tech. And we had all of the training programs. You had the electrical, you had the automotive, you had the typesetters, which were booming in those days. You remember the printers and all those, the kids that didn't want to go on to college, they could take their trade school at Lansing Tech.
and that was really the parent of LCC, Lansing Community College.
It makes you
wasn't it?
mad because LCC was supposed to be following the same thing, and then Gannon gets in there and closes our streets and shuts off the north end. Plus, he puts in a football or basketball team, swimming teams, and now he's just another glorified college.
But it's true, isn't it, to say that Lansing Tech, as you
Oh,
knew
yeah.
it, was the parent of Lansing Community
Yeah,
College?
we keep talking about it in here, but people won't today. You see, they don't believe you.
Oh,
They think you got to have something like. Well, see, we had all technicians. We never had. In fact, the biggest war that Dad had, along with the people, was education, because they would not. The educational groups would not approve by having a bricklayer teaching. He had, because he didn't have a college degree as a teacher.
but now they've changed that, Hank.
They let you have both. I mean, you work together. But back in those days, we finally had a real hassle. And then, see, I served a time of 12 years on the Carpenter Board. But that's all in these two papers here, that other one.
Good, I appreciate having those.
Well, and if, whatever you want to do, whether you want to pass them on or let me know.
I'm going to file these with the transcript
Oh, okay.
of your tapes.
Because you've got everything else too, whatever.
You're left-handed.
Yep. That's another year I was a year behind in school because
Oh, did they
They-
try to change you over?
they fought. Yeah, see, I flunked out a term. I was held back third grade because I couldn't write. The minute they let me put my
Okay.
pencil back in my left hand, I took off like a wild bird. They were vicious in these school systems then.
I wonder if that didn't have something to do with your arithmetic, your mathematics.
Could've.
Could've.
Because
could've.
why can I do add and subtract, multiply and divide today in my head? You know, another thing that I love to, and I laugh at my kids. I said, look, you kids today with all of your brilliance and your damn computers, you'd starve and you'd freeze in the dark if somebody pulled the plug, because they wouldn't know how to get into a can without a can opener. They couldn't add and subtract without a calculator.
Do they say, "Oh, Dad"?
Yeah, they do now because they're getting old enough that they begin to understand this. and John is getting as a CPA and Christie are getting so they do not trust computers at all. Because a computer is only as good as that geek that's putting it into the machine. This leads you back again to your failures in construction of buildings.
Well, it's no panacea, it's just a tool.
Yeah, and it's the ignorant imbecile that's putting it into the machine. It's not the brain that's doing it. It's just
So
some.
like a lot of inventions, Hank, that when they are first new, we give too much responsibility to them.
Yeah.
And when it's really our own intellect
Yeah.
that must be refined.
The only thing I make a double parallel though. The one thing is after the war, remember what a boom DDT was and what it turned out to be such a serious.
Such an evil.
But that was something that we created as a product. What you create with your brain and assume that it's right, that's what worries me. And this is what computer science is today. There's nobody double checking that computer. Now, if all you're doing is turning out the price of a 500 dozen eggs or something like that, or putting it into the computer to draw it out that, hey, here we got so many eggs, that's fine. But don't tell me that you're going to design another state museum and do it all on a computer, because there's nobody double checking, because they're all taking the word of the computer. So see what I'm trying to say? Computers are great as long as you're using them as a tool. Let's not use it as a thinking science.
Well, maybe that's what one of your suggestions to young people or to the residents or business people of the future would be.
And this is why there's none of us around, because you see, in a sense, Carl Hausman is almost 10 years older than I am.
You're in your mid-60s.
Yeah. And see,
Carl is older than you
he's
are.
at least 76 or so, or 77, I forget. And this is why he's such a curmudgeon. Oh, I tell you,
I guess I'll have to call Carl.
this thing,
and
that's
ask.
turned off now, isn't it?
No, it's still running.
Better turn it off a minute.
Got a story to tell me?
Yeah, when I'm here, maybe we should have it.
I think you ought to tell
He had a case that he got so mad. He had a building that he was building in town, and he felt that the owners were trying to stick him for something that he was right on. And he was so mad that he walked down and he pulled all of his money out of their bank.
I love it.
No, but you see, this is the frustrations that you are going through, the same as I am. And
I guess it's just generational, every generation.
No, but we learn many, many things are done the same way today that they were 1,000 years ago, or 500. Honesty. Probably the biggest thing that's hard for me is the loose moral life today. There's no more morals than a jackrabbit compared to what we were brought up under. And this honesty to one's spouse. Today there's no such thing. Why, it's so odd when we run across somebody who's younger that even has the same kind of beliefs that we've got. And our daughter-in-law from Wichita, that's now in San Diego, she told Shrill one day, and Shrill just about dropped her face. She said, "Why, Mother, I've never known anybody that's been married as long as you and Dad have." And Judas, at that time, we'd only been married 35 years.
That's a long time, Hank.
And today when they, because we celebrated our 40th anniversary in England. That's when we took our month-and-a-half trip over there.
Well, I think you're over the hump now. I think this marriage is going to last.
Yeah, the only thing we worry about now is our own health lasting, because I think that's what we run into now.
Yes.
And another thing that I get very upset about is that I'm one of the notch babies. Now, see, that never affected the women like it has the men. And this notch baby thing is probably one of the was born between 1919 and 1929 with a
Okay.
Social Security, because
All
you see,
right.
I'm only now my disabilities,
Mhm.
I'm not making as much on Social Security today as a common laborer would get,
Mhm.
because I did not pay the maximum all those years.
Mhm.
And the part that's dishonest about it, and that's the only thing I gotta agree with old Claude Pepper about, he was an old fool in a sense, was that the Notch baby, the Social Security Act in the 50s, arbitrarily said that anyone born between 1919 and 1929
Mhm.
would have all of their records of Social Security prior to 1950 purged. Now, I started work in way back, I've paid Social Security ever since it started.
Ever
in
since it
38.
started going.
And it
yeah.
is wrong to take all of my Social Security credits from 38 through 51 and throw it away, and then now that I needed it, I'm way short because of my not working full time the last 15 years, you see, because of disability.
Mhm.
Now, they could have said that since there's a disability here and it's legal,
Mhm.
that they should have allowed you to keep that to have met
You're,
the amount.
yeah.
And Joe Eiding and Phil Albers, many of them that are all very active over at St. Mary's Cathedral.
Mhm.
All they're doing today is advising and working with many, many people who are destitute by the loss of that.
Mhm.
Then another angle, as long as we're on the thing, we might as well get up on the stand. Now I'm preaching. But the other thing that's bad was the Internal Revenue Act, which has killed people my age, where it won't affect you, because you see you're in the widow status of the other. But anyone, first off, the ethnic again. I was brought up to invest in the way that my grandfather and my father had in real estate that someday would be your retirement.
Mhm.
So, 12 years ago, with all of this oil deal, with everybody becoming millionaires, IRS put through that law that said, which affected all excess profits. Now, when you have built real estate, like we did at Mill Street and the others, that when we sold it was to be my retirement.
Yes.
Okay, now, IRS deems it as excessive profit and taxes it at 60%. Now that's where many of them, like myself, have planned on a retirement and seen it wiped out by our government. So we're not only getting a double whammy, we get Social Security and we get that.
You lost during the Depression,
Well, we didn't, because I started after the Depression. you
but
see.
there was a generation
Yeah.
from whom you would inherited.
No, because you see, anything that they had, say a person that was born before 1919,
Mhm.
never lost anything of his Social Security.
No, not in Social Security. But you lived through several
Yeah.
traumatic economic times.
Yeah, and we had to, now see, there was about, we figured that they hit us. I myself lost a good $150,000 in excessive taxes. I'm talking about this so-called, like this oil where the guy bought it for $1 and sold it for $100. Now that to me is excessive.
It's gouging.
Excessive profit, so to say. But when all you're doing is looking at holding a piece of property for 40 years, it's going to appreciate, we know it. But we planned on it because that's the way we were brought up. It wasn't like the hot shot that has been into it 3 years and he's made that killing. We had planned by the way our parents told us. That is your retirement.
And then when you retired, you found out
It's
it
all been
wasn't.
wiped out. And these are the poor souls that today are destitute over at their churches and going in, and that Joe Eiding and the others are working with. Joe said, hey, you've got a tail. I said, we've got people over at the church that could make you look like you're almost a saint or a wealthy person, because they've been totally wiped out by the same same government acts. Acts of government. And then we let somebody like Blanchard and these others just tack it on and all the deals they do today. You want to get another person, if you can ever get him, is Don Moore, our county treasurer.
Oh, yes.
You realize it, how government has grown in the last 30 years. When Don Moore went to work at the county, you know how many county employees there were back when he became county treasurer?
Oh, I have no idea, but probably nothing to.
Less than 500. And how many thousands have we got in Ingham County alone today?
Tremendous.
When you went to work for the state, you had 2 office buildings.
Yeah.
And now you got, what, 15 scattered around the state?
Look at half of Lansing is rented
Yeah.
for state offices.
And the part that gets me is that everybody claims about the high employment in Michigan. Well, my dad taught me way back in the beginning. He said the day that you become service industry, then you are. He said you have become a parasite of your society. Because being a parasite, now I know that you're wondering what I mean.
That's an interesting statement.
It is, but I'll tell you why it is. Because what you are doing is you are depleting. You are not building, you are depleting our worth. See, a manufacturing job is you are making something to sell. When you become a service employee, you are not producing, you are only depleting what you already have. And when you think of it in that light, that's our whole trouble today in this country, is that we've become we're not a producing country any longer. We are now, what's the word I want? Better one. We're depleting. We're living off our own fat, so to say.
We are considered a service society.
Yeah. And when they talk about all this high employment, hell, if you were to knock out all the service, we'd be worse off than we were back during the Iron Age, or the Rust Belt area. So it's all just a great big hyped up case of the governor and the rest. Now, I go along with a certain degree of it because you've got to have a certain degree of health, and you've got to have a certain degree of education, which really is a service industry. But to be raiding hamburger stands and all that kind of stuff is service jobs.
Yeah.
And to be using them as to say that we're so high on our employment today.
To use them for statistical purposes.
Yeah, you're right. See that? And see, you've had enough of that state that you know what I mean, where the average person will never get it through their head.
That's the way you communicate and manipulate.
Yeah. Doesn't make you sick sometimes.
Well, it's a fascinating study.
Yeah. I just hope we live long enough that we can develop the rest of it. See, I've still got 3 more projects to do before I hope I'm not able to do any more.
Only 3?
Yeah. I've done pretty well getting through these. Oh, here.
I think you got a lot more than that ahead of you, Hank.
But are you interested in anything in East Lansing?
Yes, but I think I better come back another day and talk about East
I'll give you
Lansing.
this.
What have you
This is
got
what
there?
I'm just finishing. This is history now.
Oh my word, look at this.
This is a map that I just finished last night, and that's the one on the wall
The
there.
Michigan Agricultural College,
See, that's-
1910, yes.
See, that's that one right there.
Uh-huh.
Now you notice even the title block here is down in the corner. Okay, this is my whole news story that we're just working on. Find this here.
And that says 1910.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
says copyright 1913.
Yeah, but this is why my disclaimer over here. See,
Ah,
1910, and then with the overlay.
okay, all right.
So
I
what I've
was
done-
reading from right to left. here.
Okay, what I've done is, well, here's the book. This is the book that
that was put out by our Historical Society for all of our new historic districts of East Lansing. And here's the 1913-15 map. That's the only one that we've had that I could work from. So what I've done is I took this copy of this and made my overlays and blanked them out, and that's how we ended up with this map you got here. That's why we call it that, because there's no other printed source of that until I made this. So you see, this is where I'm having all my fun today. People say it bores them to hell, but
I don't think so.
yeah, but to you and I, you see, it's
Or me. Have you used some of those fire insurance maps out at, there's a set of those?
yeah. I got them, and Robert has run off copies for me, and everybody else has. But the one I have all the fun with is Race Street here. You know where it got its name? It was the old mill race.
Yes.
But then we find out there's two more races that ran along
Oh,
here.
yeah.
up
They
the
show
river.
up on those early
Yeah.
plat maps.
Right. And the ones that you mean the insurance put out? Yeah, because
Well,
I got those from the state of the city. Yeah.
The city's plat maps that are filed with the state archive shows those other little races that went out to the river.
Right. Did you have a copy of that one?
No.
This is the one that the girls prepared for me over at the State Museum.
Okay.
They ran off a couple thousand of these things. Now these are the ones that are on file over at the docent things and at the archives. So that's why this one was.
I'm gonna file this with your.
Yeah, or either keep this
interview.
yourself or run copy.
I'll make a
copies, right?
copy for myself, but I'll file this with the.
Yeah, but this is the one I just finished in
January
January.
6th, 1990, yes. We talked about this on the telephone.
Yeah,
the other
okay.
day.
And that covers that, and then okay, here is the file. This is just being presented now to the Historical Society. And see, I'm the new chairman of the new projects. So what we do is we do all these kind of things to give new people an idea of what we want and what they can work on with projects. So those two are inserts into this. And this, you see, was tongue-in-cheek again because everybody told me that it was all wet until we actually found it. Was and this is my paper that I use when I lecture. See, it was actually known Village of Agricultural College.
Right.
By the post office.
You find some cancels
Right.
on the post office.
And you see, it was College Farm, and it was on my map of that. And you'll love this because, see, everything is right where you can understand what I'm doing, where the average person doesn't know what the word. They say, well, somebody told me that was wrong. And I've actually, right today, I've probably found at least 500 errors in East Lansing history because nobody ever had anything before 1930.
Don't start in on Ingham County. You'll lose your mind.
But the
That's
point
the sad part when it gets written down, isn't it, Hank?
I
When
know
people
it.
think it's true.
But read here, this is my favorite thing that I learned from you and other people. Historians hate to be corrected.
Did I teach you that?
All of you have, everybody. I mean, this is the point. But I've learned from somebody over there that I have used the following disclosure. However, actual state or county records
And the state commission
Yeah.
records introduce another theory to the actual data.
Now you see, nobody is being affronted when you use that disclosure. And who do you suppose the number one person, two people that have become my dearest friends in the last 2 years? Horace Caesar, Ford Caesar, and the one out to college.
Justin
Kestenbaum.
Kestenbaum. Yeah.
Those two people, I mean, talk about right down snob ways. That all of a sudden, you have done enough that you're finally accepted as an equal. Yeah, I mean, to you and I, tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? It makes you feel good though because you've been downtrodden so damn long because you're just a worker. Now, see here, these go all through all this stuff. You can take these with you. But here's all the original plans. And I've got all the books for that. And there's the areas. See Plank Road. went all the way down.
Yeah, yeah.
And Franklin Avenue came down to here on other sources that I've got. But it takes in your railroads. And here's all my references, which most of those you've ran across. I've learned that if nothing else, because that's part of the whole story. But anyway, these three things together
Got it written down.
with your new map, and you might even say hot off the press, because I
Yes.
just finished that. I just ran those
That's
copies
great.
last night, and
The
they're
ink's
going home tomorrow.
Just getting dry.
But
This has been a lot of fun, Hank.
well, I knew we'd have it once we ever got the time, and you know, my Lord, it's all 5 o'clock
Yeah, I
almost.
know.
We blow time like.
Some other
but-
day will you come back and we turn on this machine again?
Yeah,
and
but
we'll make
you-
the rest of the world over?
Well, I think what you want to do now, you've got an idea of all the stuff we've got.
Oh, this is a
And-
great
and,
collection.
And then, because I need you and I need the other gals, I need advice, really who it should go to. Because to be honest with you, here's the way I'm doing that. That stuff all goes home.
I think it's important that you put all of it in one place.
Yeah, now see, these all come out of my fire set, the fire files.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the way that I set these up. This is now everything I've given to Grayling. You see, but I'm giving them memos, so I've got a record of who gets what,
Mm-hmm.
and many old famous pictures of old. You've been around Grayling, you know, the Shopmagon, the old chief.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
Chief Shopnagon.
Yeah, right here. Now,
Oh, that's an interesting picture of him. I've
Yeah.
never seen that before.
but you see, this is taken within 300 yards of our camp.
Mm-hmm. His beautiful face, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
And then if you get
That's a covered bridge.
no, that's the camp.
What
Those
is
are their
that?
camps.
What is that? Oh, that's
Shelter.
what that
Yeah.
is. That's the shelter.
Yeah, and the river. See, there's the river right
isn't
behind.
that beautiful? Oh, Hank.
But now, let me show you the map over here that I made. Over on the wall here. This gives you an idea of what you can get into. This I made for Christmas for our kids for Christmas 3 years ago. This is Crawford County overlaid from 1929 and 30 through 1950. These are all overlays. So then you see we came up from Ross Common and we had all the trails.
Yes.
And then right here is Reniger. And this is the blow up. But now back in the 30s and 40s, when the county map was presented and prepared, they put every established camp on the maps. Because it was order, hunting, lumbering, they were camps. And see, we could sleep 28 people in beds up there. And it's just a great big old rough camp. It's, no interior finishes, empty studs. And that's where we had all these different things. That's where I've taken my national awards, fishing with the fly and different types. But this, see, each of my kids, the river goat, we mentioned here about the pulling, and all that upstream. This was the card that was signed by Jim Wakefield and DJ and John. They both were told to go from there up to Graham up to the village. And this is what they all got. This was the old trail coming from here. Now, see that big fire that we had a month ago? Started right here. Yeah, started right here, right across.
Well, yes, Southwest.
And it was actually from here, it ended up right up in here, Baldwin, and Cedar Falls. If you're familiar with that area, then
That's a beautiful thing. You did beautiful
But-
work on finding the map.
But you see, I guess what I was trying to say there is that what we're looking at there is, you can see the total of training that I got. I mean, I'm not just stuck in one thing. I've hopped, skipped, and jumped from one thing to another. And it's all come about because you had a brain you could conceive taking the average person that you and I find today
has no conception of how to go about completing a product or a project. And if they can, see, for example, that map, that's 3 or 4 overlays. This map that you got here of East Lansing is actually a total of about 8 overlays. And what would we do without Kinko's today?
Yeah, I know.
And for a nickel a sheet, you make up the rough one, you put an overlay, you run over there, and I buy my little white out,
yeah.
because that's special for photocopy. And incidentally, here, I'll give you a handful of these. They're becoming antiques. I still got probably a couple thousand of them left. These are our pencils that we had for.
Oh, bless
They're
your
pens.
heart.
No,
pens.
but the key is, that is the kind of ink for photocopy work.
Oh.
It's not regular because everything will come out black. See, all my work that I do
Yes.
is all done with one of those pens. And that's how it
It's
comes
so
out so black.
black.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's special, it's what they call photocopy work, the same as this is the, for copies,
White
you
out
see.
just for copies. Well, thank you.
And if you, next time you buy this junk, make sure you get the kind for copies, because the others that you had for typing, a lot of times won't work.
I know, it won't cover.
Yeah, and also, all of my paper that I buy today, see, everything I've got here is done on a ruled line. But my lines, you see, do not come through.
Yeah.
Because you can set that copy machine to such a way that you can blank out without losing the depth, because this is not a blue type ink.
Thank you.
It's what they call a permanent photocopy blank.
It's beautiful.
But you see, they're...
Copies well.
Oh, yeah, see, here's the ones that we've given to the Historical Society.
This thing's still running.
See, I make up, I've learned, because you make detail of what you've given everyone.
Oh, I'm glad you're doing that.
And, but I want you and the gals over there to think about what you see around, because now another thing is that I'm very upset about is our painting there. Now see, the painting, Cheryl and I gave that to the Railroad Museum, but the Dingleberries, what they've did, they've just gone down the tube, and so we got the painting back. Now that's the original painting. And where's that going to be exposed the best? Is it going to be used at City Hall, or was it something that we could use at the library for the Historical Society? Because it's our history more than anything else. And there's nobody else that should get it. To me, it's a big toss of whether I give it to the City Hall, or whether it's something that goes in the mayor's office or somewhere around City Hall, or whether it should go to the...
I wouldn't say City Hall from my own experience,
like mine in the past too.
because it's up there for a year maybe, and then it's
Yeah.
lost, and then 10 years from now or 20 they find it, in quotes, put away someplace.
Yeah, the same way they've done the library in the past, so they're no better.
Right.
Oh, I tell
In
you.
the past.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're getting better,
but don't you feel...
but you have some real horrible experiences,
Yeah.
and you hear other people's horror stories
Yeah,
of materials not taken care of.
this is
well.
why I refuse to give anything to MSU. I will not give MSU one single solitary piece of paper. We got into wasn't it Bateman or whatever his name was, that was the head of the museum out there some years back when Dad died.
Well,
Berryman, that's it.
This is Geneva Kebler Wiskemann concluding the oral interview with Henry A. Reniger, Jr., commonly called Hank by all who know him in the greater Lansing area and throughout Michigan. The street noise you hear outside was unavoidable because we were at 317 where the Franklin Street Museum is located. It's a very comfortable spot, surrounded inside by the realia accumulated by the family through the 3 generations of business in Lansing. I recommend that photographs be acquired of the interior of the museum and also his work and storage area, which is very interesting. Hank has a lot of stories to tell, and there are more people volunteering for the project who intend to go back and interview him on other aspects of his life. He is extremely vocal and most knowledgeable of the greater Lansing scene. Our thanks to you, Hank, for sharing this personal insight and the story of your times here with all of those who will hear this tape or read the transcript. Mr. Reniger, Hank, did sign a deed of gift during the interview, which gives the content and all products to Voices of Lansing and Oral History for educational and historical purposes.